Sir Kingsley, it is such a privilege to talk to you about this fascinating project. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. Good to talk to you.
Thank you. But first, I need to tell you a little bit, a quick anecdote. When I was a kid for years, I had trouble forgiving Gandhi for winning all the major awards over my favorite Spielberg's E.T. At the time, I was a 10-year-old. And it was a mix of disappointment and kind of surprise. But years later, I finally had the chance to watch the film and I understood why it is such a masterpiece. So thank you for your remarkable work in that film and in your career. So let me start by asking, speaking of historical figures, what do you still find so fascinating about real life historical figures, and in this case a pivotal moment, the formative years of George Washington?
If historical figures are well and honestly represented in the screenplay, it's not only is it invigorating to portray them in their fullness and in their experience and wisdom, but also an actor has an opportunity occasionally to learn certain patterns of behavior, certain choices that either one could read about in a history book or hear in a lecture, or as an actor experience oneself, to reenact that dilemma, that predicament and those choices. And so that whilst I am hopefully broadcasting and being a transmitter for certain key moments in history, I am also acquiring them into the cells of my body so that they become a kind of cellular memory too. Because I have to say, although I consider myself a portrait artist, in other words, the character is very separate from me. That character is a canvas and I have my paints and I paint the portrait, I put my paints down. However, the memory of that experience, when it's a good one, will stay with me for life. So it's a two-way street. I hopefully am giving to the audience, but I'm also receiving from the character whom I'm privileged to portray.
Thank you for that, and it's a remarkable answer. So do you think that you feel like a responsibility as an actor when you're interpreting people, like, that has influenced history?
I think the key responsibility begins with the producers
Okay.
and the writers. And they make the initial choices, and then the actors are invited to participate in that exercise. And therefore it is, thank goodness, it's my decision whether I say, oh yes, I'll participate in that version, or no, that is not a version of the truth that I agree with at all. It's not personal, it's more universal. That is not a universal truth. That is a distortion of a universal truth. And I think that's a disservice to the audience. Whereas if I've recognized something as being pure, as a version of the truth, then I will give my best to that exercise.
Thank you for that. So one last question, talking about the truth. Working with Joel Elwin, who's been known for telling uplifting stories about faith, hope, without preaching, that resonates with faith-based audiences. What did you see in the script or in him that made you wanted to collaborate with him?
It was my first collaboration with John, and I felt that the screenplay, the writing of the screenplay, definitely had its roots in something pre-Washington, pre-Shakespeare, rooted in ancient Greek drama and mythology. It's classic, and it's rooted in classical storytelling. by that I mean it has archetypes, not stereotypes, which are copies of a copy of a copy of a copy, but it has originals. Archetypes are originals, and they are in their purest form. That's what he brought to the script, and I admire that.
Excellent. Thank you for that. My time is up again. Thank
Okay.
you for a wonderful career, for a wonderful
Thank
work
you.
in this film. Thank
Thanks.
you. From Puerto Rico, a big hug.